We are now joined from London by Carlos Martinez, a political analyst and specialist on China. Thank you so much for your time, Carlos.
Thank you very much for having me on the show.
So first of all, can you tell us what this day has meant for China?
Well, obviously, it's a hugely significant day for China. Any major anniversary in any country, be it China, Vietnam, Venezuela, Cuba, or including in the United States with celebrations like the 4th of July, it's an opportunity to reflect on the past, to assess a historical trajectory, if you like. In the case of China's National Day, we're talking about 70 years since the establishment of the People's Republic of China in 1949. So we have to start that conversation on the basis of what China was like before 1949, yet to recover from civil war, from the war against Japanese aggression, from a century of colonization and unequal treaties, from the Opium Wars, Britain's capture of Hong Kong, and so on. It was a hugely backward country. Life expectancy was around 35 years. Literacy was around 10% at best. Peasants, the vast majority of the country, suffered terrible oppression, awful circumstances. Women suffered awful conditions. They didn't have access to education. They didn't have access to good jobs. Many had their feet bound and so on. So the last 70 years in China have been a story of really quite incredible progress. Life expectancy now is more like 77, which is comparable with the rich countries, you know, the advanced capitalist OECD countries. Literacy is close to 100%. For young people of school age, it's literally 100%. Extreme poverty has been almost completely wiped out. Everybody has access to electricity. Everybody has access to clean water. China is becoming a world power in science and technology, and it's increasingly becoming a progressive influence globally, including in Latin America, including in Africa. So today really is a day of celebration for China. And there's another aspect, which is that at 70 years now, the People's Republic of China is getting close to the lifespan of the Soviet Union, which, as you know, was established in 1917 and collapsed in 1991. So that's 74 years. So increasingly, China's starting to become, in the era of a historical journey to socialism, China is starting to become the lead country, the preeminent country, and the most important experience. So that will be another thing playing on the mind of a lot of Chinese on this National Day.
And now, Carlos, the international media are reporting a lot about the protests in Hong Kong. How serious a challenge is this for President Xi Jinping?
Well, clearly the optics of it aren't good for China. I think the People's Republic was very keen to have the situation in Hong Kong in a much calmer state now, but by 1st of October, so that they could really enjoy National Day across the country. It's still going on. Increasingly, legitimate protests are turning into more like riots. There's violence involved, and of course that has to inspire some reaction from the state. The Chinese police, the Chinese army, is not going to be able to allow this situation to continue forever. That people can't live and exist safely and carry out their normal lives in Hong Kong. So I'm very sure that China will be able to get the situation under control within the next few months. And it's no coincidence, of course, that what's happening in Hong Kong and the escalation over the last 3-4 months has coincided time-wise with Trump's trade war. I believe what Trump and his administration are attempting is quite similar to what Ronald Reagan did with the Soviet Union in the 1980s in terms of a so-called full court press. So there's the economic side, there's a political side to it, there's a diplomatic and a social side to it. So they're really trying to ramp up the aggression and the pressure on China. And clearly the Hong Kong situation is a big part of that. And we know that the rioters and the big dissident organizations in Hong Kong are receiving a lot of support from the United States and from the West. Obviously massive media support across the Western media, but also direct financial and logistical support via National Endowment for Democracy and similar organizations.
Carlos, we thank you so much for your time for Telesur English.